Let me answer that question. You see, the rest of us were living our lives. We were minding our own business when you came along and demanded that we abandon everything we know about fundamental physical reality for your sake. That's what you did. You claim the right to walk into whatever bathroom you want, whatever locker room, whatever sports team. Nobody else has ever had that right. Nobody else has ever had that right to just do whatever they want, go anywhere they want. But you wanted it. You came after our children, seeking to suck them into your suicide cult just to make yourselves feel better. You tried to restructure human society to make it affirming to you personally. You wanted to force the whole world to bend to your narcissism. You tried to put words in our mouths. You tried to control how we speak, even when you're not in the room. Your ego is so out of control that you even tried to take possession of parts of the English language, like you can own them. Let me answer that question. You see, the rest of us were living our lives. We were minding our own business when you came along.
In that world, and the world that I come from in Hollywood, that it is a hidden layer that everybody knows is there. When the Me Too movement started in 2017, I reached out to several of my female actress friends who were prominent in LA. You would know them by name. Many of them you would know by just their look, because you go, oh, that was her in that movie.
Anyone else find it weird that for the last couple of years, since Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been in office, they've been saying that the border is secure. There's no issues at the border. Well, Title 42 is coming to an end, and all of a sudden Joe Biden is threatening to send the military to the border. Now, I don't exactly know why Joe Biden would be announcing this, because he put Kamala Harris in charge of the border. So if the border is secure, why are you sending troops? And if Kamala Harris is in charge of the border, Joe Biden, why are you coming up with the plan?
It's simple. The troops aren't there to keep them from getting out. It's an express lane to let them in and overthrow America more. Communist United States of Joe Biden. Welcome to it.
Just asking. Anyone?
What do we call people that don't like bulldogs?
Asshole.
What do we call people that don't like bulldogs?
Asshole.
What happens if someone ultimately does get a Neuralink installed? What will take place?
It could, in principle, fix almost anything that is wrong with the brain.
Good morning, Nate. Watch this short video to get access to your legs, or upgrade to premium for an ad-free experience. Watch this short video to get access to your arm, or upgrade to premium for an ad-free experience.
Yeah.
I think we should go to bed.
It's like 7 o'clock. It's way too early.
I mean, I think we should go to bed.
Watch this short video to get access to your erection, or upgrade to premium for an ad-free experience.
No! What happens?
Come here. Yeah. Come here. Yeah.
Did you know that the Bluetooth technology logo is actually a North Pine room? I'm not fucking around. Sven Madison and Jim Kardach, two of the main engineers on the project, the developers of Bluetooth technology. In the 1990s, when getting ready to launch the project, like all good things Viking, was sharing a beer after work and discussing a name for this innovation that would unite PC and cellular technologies with a short-range link. So they came up with the name Bluetooth in honor of the Viking king Harald Bluetooth Gormson, who got his name because of a dead tooth in his mouth, which had turned a weird blackish blue. who united Denmark and Norway. So they decided to make the logo a combination of the runes Berkano, which promotes united development, and Gibo, which symbolizes an exchange of energy, a give and take, and puts two together for a bind rune that's in everybody's fucking phone in this world. So the next time somebody talks shit about your spiritual path, tell them you're welcome for the magic in your pocket, motherfucker. Stay fucking savage.
How did Doctor describe what happened to you?
That's something I want to stay away from.
That's something I want to stay away from. How strange does that strike many of you? Because when I heard this, I thought that's something you want to stay away from. That's actually the single most important thing we all need to know. Because whatever happened to Damar Hamlin that almost killed him on the football field could happen to another athlete somewhere else. And so what happened to him, now that we know he's recovered, is actually the single most important thing that all of us need to know.
How did Doctor describe what happened to you?
Wait a second. Let me get this straight. If there are more than two genders, why does gender reassignment surgery only offer two options? Wait a second. Let me get this straight.
Two ways. One of them would be a jelly clot. This is not that.
Hi there. I really admire your page and I admire the thorough research that you do. No, they're not blood clots. And what I'm about to say is going to sound really crazy, but I trust you will look into it. Look into intrabody nano network administered through VAX. Just type in those keywords. Then look into transhumanism. Then look into the Internet of Bodies. Then look into how the Internet of Bodies is going to tie into and become the foundation of this new digital financial system that's coming. And then it's all going to make sense. It is self-assembling nanotechnology for the purpose of creating a carbon nanotube network within the human body to make the human body a device that can eventually be linked into the Internet of Bodies. It is biotechnology created through the manipulation of lipids with polyethylene glycol, pegylation. Polyethylene glycol is one of the components that can be used to make hydrogel. And after the self-assembling nano network is administered in the human body, along with nanosensors, which is what those round modules.
Two ways. One of them.
Did you know that Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution requires the government to defend and protect its borders? If our government does not uphold this, the Constitution authorizes its free citizens to defend and protect themselves and their state in place of a treasonous government. Even more interesting is that under Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution, it declares that the government will give comfort and aid to a hostile foreign invasion when the borders are not protected. And that, my friends, is labeled treason. Did you know that Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution requires the government to defend and protect its borders? If our government does not uphold this, the Constitution authorizes its free citizens to defend and protect themselves and their state in place of a treasonous government. Even more interesting is that under Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution, it declares that the government will give comfort and aid to a hostile foreign invasion when the borders are not protected. And that, my friends, is labeled treason.
Oh, no, I was going to listen to that, but then I just carried on living my life. Oh, no, I was going to listen to that.
All right, so check it out. I'm starting to think this whole no-till regenerative agriculture thing got a little bit of truth to it. I'll tell you why. So this right here is the garden we planted this year, and this was the tilled method. Now you can see it's doing pretty. I mean, it's doing very, very well. It ain't no. I mean, you can't knock this thing. I mean, it's growing some tomatoes, some corn, some beans, growing all kinds of stuff. But we did help it out with some nitrogen now. Now here's our corn stand right here, and we planted this at the same time that we planted the experimental corn that I'm fixing to show you. But look how tall it is. Tilled garden with a little bit of help of nitrogen, and that's how tall it is, about 5 foot. Now let's take a little ride over here to my little experimental garden where I put out a bunch of hay and killed the grass. So here's my little experimental garden where I've killed the grass with hay. And this corn right here, just put it in the ground, didn't do nothing. Look how tall and green it is in reference to the golf cart. Hadn't had to do nothing to it.
This was a few days ago, New York to track residents' food purchases and ration meat. I want you guys to think about this for a second. The type of control that these powers that be would have to be able to implement this. And think about what that means. Initially, you hear it and you're like, okay, well, maybe this may be for good. You know what? There's a lot of people that need help. Maybe it'll be more balanced. And that's how they're going to try to feed it to you. That's how they're going to try to get you on board. The fact of the matter is this needs to start so we can have 15-minute cities, so everybody can be in a bubble and be fully controlled at all times. This was a few days ago, New York to track residents' food purchases and ration meat. I want you.
So with that being said, we're going to go back a few. Now check it out.
Oh.
Did you?
Wait a second.
How did doctor describe?
Did you know?
Come here.
What happens if someone ultimately does get a Neuralink installed? What will take place?
It could, in principle, fix almost anything that is wrong with the brain.
Good morning, Nate. Watch this short video to get access to your legs, or upgrade to premium for an ad-free experience. Watch this short video to get access to your arm, or upgrade to premium for an ad-free experience.
Yeah,
I think we should go to bed.
it's like 7 o'clock. It's way too early.
I mean, I think we should go to bed.
Watch this short video to get access to your erection, or upgrade to premium for an ad-free experience.
No!
What happened?
Wait a second.
Did you?
Oh.
This was a few days ago, New York to track residents' food purchases and ration meat. I want you guys to think about this for a second. The type of control.
Not so far off now, is it? You know, the Rogan bit seemed insane till now. Look at what's going on in New York. Just saying.
That these powers that be would have to be able to implement this. And think about what that means. Initially, you hear it and you're like, okay, well, maybe this may be for good. You know what? There's a lot of people that need help. Maybe it'll be more balanced. And that's how they're going to try to feed it to you. That's how they're going to try to get you on board.
Did you know that Vladimir Putin, the Russian's president, he's passed a law that any Russian who grows or sells genetically modified foods is to be considered a terrorist. Whew. He's even giving land away to Russians who will grow food organically, non-GMO. You put his name and GMO in Google that and you'll read the spiel. He says, we Russians look across at the West, over-vaccinated, over-medicated, overfed, sitting in front of boxes every night in their lounge rooms, eating food that has no nutrients, he said, and we know it's weakening the West. Is he right? Absolutely right. Yeah. Unfortunately, Monsanto is so powerful and so wealthy and so big, they win every court case. where Australians want GMO to be labelled on the products. Happens in America too. It's unfortunate. So how do you know? Well, you don't, unless you buy organic. You see, if an organic farmer uses genetically modified seed, they lose their organic status. So grow as much as you can yourself. And the more Aussies that buy organic, the more organic will be available. One organic tomato will give you 9 times the iron of a conventionally grown tomato. Did you know that Vladimir Putin...
Men worry when they don't have money. Men worry.
Senator Josh Hawley is with us now with reaction. Senator, did the Attorney General of the U.S. just lie to you in that exchange? Do we now know that?
Sure looks like it, Sean. Sure looks like it. Listen, he knew at the time that he couldn't answer the question because it looked so bad. He knew that it looked beyond the pale, and it is beyond the pale, Sean, for the FBI to be going into any church in America and trying to spy on Americans. And now we know that's exactly what they were doing. They are infiltrating churches. They are trying to spy on us. They regard churches, apparently, as the enemy, and church-going Americans as akin to terrorists. And yeah, the Attorney General sat right there and told me, no, we don't do that. And now we know they do, in fact, target churches, and they have been. There's got to be accountability for this, Sean. He's got to be called on the carpet. The House needs to call him. The Senate should call him too, but the Democrats will never do it. There's got to be some accountability, and the targeting of Christians and churches has got to end.
Senator,
I don't think people realize how miserable it will become when the power grid goes down. Me and my wife lived in Florida. We went through a hurricane. Here's what happens in a hurricane. Grocery stores are completely wiped out within about 48 hours of a hurricane coming. Just the news alone, people go into panic mode. There goes all the water, the bread, the meat, all the frozen food, vegetables, gasoline, anything you can think of, it's gone. The lines can be over a mile long sometimes. All the plywood's gone. All the generators are gone because everybody knows the power's going to go out. Why do you need plywood? One, to keep looters out and to keep debris that the hurricane's going to throw at your house from breaking windows. You can't even escape it. There was stop and go traffic jam, and that went all the way from Miami to Atlanta, Georgia. And so when we went through that, it did paint a picture of what it's going to be like with all these new people. Florida's worried that they're not going to be able to flush the toilets in a couple of years. There's so many people down there now. I don't think people
CBS did a story on all of the generations, and they put up a graphic and completely forgot Gen X. This happened a couple of years ago. You didn't hear anything about it because it's honestly our goal to be forgotten about and just fly under the radar. This graphic made me think about the way that the years are structured. According to everything online, Gen X ends at 1980. We all know that that's bullshit. If you're born between 1981 and 1984, you're Gen X. You're not a Zennial. You're not an older millennial. You don't have to make up a new word for yourself. You're not that fucking special. You're Gen X trash like the rest of us. For those of you born in 1985 to 1988, I would say it's possible to get in with certain stipulations. Number one, you cannot be the oldest child. If you were born between 85 and 88 and you're the oldest child in your family, you are straight to Millennialville. But if you were not the oldest, you had older siblings that beat the shit out of you from Gen X, then you can apply. You need to be able to show us a scar on your body with a really fucked up story to go with it. I'm talking shot with a BB gun, stabbed with a jart, or burn mark from someone shooting a bottle rocket at you out of a wiffle ball bat from like 5 feet away. You got to know at least 8 Jennifers. 8. It's like we did a flow chart, Gen X and millennials and what separates them. So I'm willing to hear any suggestions y'all have. CBS.
Wow, what a week. Holy smokes. Soon you'll be able to tell your kids about how the United States dollar was once the strongest currency in the world, and you were there to watch it all fall into ruin in the spring of 2023.
Are warning the collapse of another American bank could lead to a credit crunch and an economic slowdown.
As banks collapsed all around you, and how you had to pull your money out of your local banks and put it into gold and silver and real estate just to protect your family. How the president of Ukraine just met yesterday with BlackRock. Yes, the largest asset manager in the world, as this war has helped them add $9 trillion to their balance sheets. Yeah, BlackRock now owns over 30% of Ukraine. You don't think this was all planned? What a clown world we are living in. This weekend, gold hit a brand new record high as people freak out about government currencies, which are, of course, tanking. And this week, we entered the most dangerous period yet, with economists saying this could be worse than the Great Depression or the financial crisis of 2008.
Inflation is going to get worse, and so is the current financial crisis. And nobody wants to admit we're in a financial crisis. It is worse than the one we had in 2008. It's just getting started.
Friday was a bloodbath for the US dollar, and we're going to get into all of the latest important news that you need to know about just in a minute here. But first, you'll also be able to tell your kids that you were there when they took away the paper dollar and coins in favor of a US digital currency. And you'd be correct, because 50 days from now, the United States dollar changes forever. That's right, in July. And wow, what a week. Holy smoke.
I mean, do you think that a 16-year-old can meaningfully consent to having their body parts removed? Do you?
Yeah, we asked the question.
We will ask the questions.
In this country, it is not only permissible to question our leaders, it's our responsibility.
I mean, do you think that a 16-year-old?
Do you believe that this virus was created in a laboratory?
I wouldn't use the word created, but you can't say naturally occurring if it was by way of the laboratory. So it's very clear this virus was manipulated. This family of viruses was manipulated and studied in a laboratory where the animals were taken into the laboratory. And this is what was released, whether deliberate or not. That cannot be naturally occurring. Somebody didn't go to a market, get a bat. The virus didn't jump directly to humans. That's not how it works. That's accelerated viral evolution. If it was a natural occurrence, it would take it up to 800 years to occur. This occurred from SARS-1 within a decade. That's not naturally occurring.
Do you believe that this virus was created in a laboratory?
LGBTQ plus community is jubilant as world's first competitive trans surfer destroys opposition to win a one-sided women's longboard contest and becomes the first surfer in history to win both the men's and the women's division. And this surfer is named Sasha Jane Lowerson and had initially won the men's competition under the name Ryan Egan. So we're just really collecting awards here. You know, if you've accomplished the men's division, you're like, I want to move on to broader horizons. I want to do something a little different. I want to do something avant-garde, really switch and flip the script on these people. Just go on over to the women's division and do it over there, baby. LGBTQ plus.
Where we're at, though.
And Mr. O'Boyle, we just heard from your interaction with Mr. Gates and how all of this occurred and all of the hardships you've gone through. If one of your really good friends, your former colleagues, came to you and said, I have this thing that is being covered up, and I think the American people need to know about it, what advice would you give them?
I would tell them first to pray about it long and hard. And I would tell them I could take it to Congress for them, or I could put them in touch with Congress, but I would advise them not to do it.
So you would legitimately try to protect one of your colleagues from doing what you have done?
Absolutely.
And how do you think that solves being able to shine light on corruption, weaponization, any kind of misconduct that exists with the American people?
It doesn't solve it, but the FBI will crush you. This government will crush you and your family if you try to expose the truth about things that they are doing that are wrong. And we are all examples of that.
I can't think of a more sobering way to end a hearing. I yield back. And Mr. O'Boyle.
You know the history of school, where it comes from, the term school? It comes from Prussia, as they were the first ones to invent school. And this is the Prussian system is what we adopted in America. The Prussians were the geographical and cultural precursor to the Nazis. And the reason they did it was because they had this problem that their conscripted armies would not fight. Like they'd get out there and they'd draft these people into an army and tell them to go to war, and they'd like piss themselves and run away. And they were like, what are we going to do about this? And so they were like, we got to get them at a young age and really like indoctrinate them toward like being subservient to the state. And Horace Horace Mann, who's considered, the godfather of education in America, he literally said, we're adopting the Prussian model. And he was like, but, surely if this model can be used to support like authoritarianism, it can also be used to support republicanism of America, support the great republic. And it's literally, that is the first thing they would do at schools is like, have you pledge allegiance to your government.
Well, let me bring you up to speed. Folks, today we're going to have an exercise in how astronomical news can be easily hidden from you in the age of information, yet it's easily verifiable. Did you hear that India wiped out 87% of their cash circulation?
We have decided that the 500 rupee and 1000 rupee currency notes presently in use will no longer be legal tender from midnight to night.
My country was the first where they made cash illegal. 2016, digitalization was forced on the country. 8 o'clock in the evening announced midnight, cash was illegal, the big notes. And 70% of the economy crashed. This digitalization is now going all over the world, and there's a war on cash.
It's all part of a global trend against paper money. But India's move has been the most radical of all.
The 500 and 1,000 rupee, which were the most commonly used denominations, were wiped out in an instant. In a country where 98% of the transactions were done in cash, 86% of the currency was wiped out instantly. This is exactly as if President Biden was to come on national television at 9 p.m. and announce that the $10 and $20 bills were effectively canceled. By the way, India's central bank digital currency, the e-rupee, was just launched this year. Well, it took a little time to get 1.2 billion people used to using cash all digitalized.
If ever there was a time for humanity to wake up, now is the time.
Well, let me bring you up to speed.
What is this? Why is this film so? What is it about this movie that makes people in the film industry and other places not want to see it in theaters?
I'll give you one plain example. We had 1,500 patriots, people that were interested in seeing the film in Las Vegas. During one part of the film, everybody in the audience started whispering. And of course, you're watching the viewers to see if they're even interested in the movie, but they were very, very locked in. At one point, they all started whispering, and I thought I've never seen that before. So after the movie, I asked them a couple of questions, and then I had to ask them, why were you whispering at this one particular part in the movie? And I didn't pick up on it. And they all started screaming out Epstein Island. Epstein Island isn't the only island out there where they have hurt children.
Are you saying this the type of thing in the film that is going to be revealed and people are going to see? I mean,
all those people are saying plant-based meat is the future. It is. It's really bad for you. Not only that, it's monocrop agriculture, which is terrible for the land. It's terrible for living creatures. If one life equals one life, you're way better off buying cows and eating cows than you are buying corn. Because in order to grow a stalk of corn, a lot of shit has to die. And you're controlling enormous swaths of land with only one crop. That is totally unnatural. Doesn't exist anywhere in nature. And in order to do that, you have to poison everything else. If you want to buy plant-based food and plant-based meat, you're supporting monocrop agriculture, industrialized farming, and you're supporting very unhealthy food.
Because what we're planning to do is take away everyone's rights globally, right? We're basically going to have a totalitarian system where individuals have no rights, doctors have no rights, scientists have no rights, because we're trying to save humanity. Well, humanity wasn't at risk, let I say it, in the last 3 years. Yes, people have died with COVID. Humanity has never been, the only thing we've been at risk of is what's happened by this totalitarianism, because that is scary and that can have long-term consequences that may be much more horrific for humanity than SARS-CoV-2. SARS-CoV-2 is a problem, but it's not going to eradicate humanity. Because what we're planning to do is take away
bad people will always get guns.
Always. That's the thing, because you know what? They're not giving up their guns.
Because they're the bad people.
They're the bad people.
Yes.
I got tired of seeing Black people every time we're in the media about guns. It's always bad. We are law-abiding citizens, and we're not going to give up our Second Amendment rights. And by the way, the fastest growing segment of gun owners, do you know who they are? I'm glad you asked. It's women. Women.
Women, yes.
Black women.
Guns are a leveler. You know, if you don't have guns, then the person who is physically stronger is always going to win.
Man, so I just ran across this broadcast by Paul Harvey from 1965, and it blew my mind how accurate it was. All right, check this out.
If I were the Prince of Darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have 1/3 of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. Thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of the serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn.
Man, so I just ran across this broadcast.
You're going to be absolutely horrified when you hear how evil Twitter is. Before Musk took over, Twitter let the US government use their platform for literal propaganda. See, the US government needs the people of Yemen, Syria, Iraq, and Kuwait to support America. You know, because of the drone strikes, oil wars, destabilizations of governments, etc. So the Pentagon created a bunch of fake Arabic news accounts on Twitter so they could, quote, amplify certain messages, unquote, like at Yemen Current, which tweeted announcements about US drone strikes and how the drone strikes were accurate and how they definitely did not kill civilians. The Pentagon sent these propaganda accounts to Twitter, and Twitter willingly whitelisted them. And some of these accounts are still active. Click the link below to learn the evil secret to how the US really got so powerful, because you're going to be absolutely horrified when you hear how evil Twitter is.
Well, let me bring you up to speed. Folks, since last week when Prime Minister Trudeau decided to redesign the Canadian crown and replace the cross with a snowflake, we think he's earned himself the title of the Snowflake King. And so the Snowflake King has embarked upon a mission to give his snowflake minions unprecedented power. The power to have you arrested for what you say online that they could deem as hurtful content. Well, this is the part of the bill that states that people can have you charged and arrested for a crime that you didn't even commit. If someone just so much as fears that you may say something that's hurtful to their identity, then they can have you charged right here. The person may, with the Attorney General's consent, lay information before a provincial court if the person fears on reasonable grounds that another person will commit these offenses. And here's the part of the bill that states that people can remain completely anonymous. They can report you from their living room, and they never have to disclose who they are, and they never have to go to court. And this is the part of the bill that creates an entire new industry for these snowflakes to get awarded up to $20,000 for reporting something that you may or may not have said online, and they get to do it anonymously. How many people do you know who are easily offended? And if they were able to be awarded $20,000 and report you anonymously and never have to show up to court, well, that would just be a coward snowflake stream.
I posted something that he posted. You come to arrest me, you don't arrest him. Why has it come to this? Why am I in cuffs? Because there's something he shared, then I shared.
Because someone has been caused, obviously, anxiety based upon your social media page. That's the reason why you've been arrested.
Well, let me bring you up to speed.
There was a Spaniard, Francisco de Orellana, who accidentally managed to travel the entire way across the Amazon, across South America in the 1560s. I say accidentally because he was with 20 other guys. They were in a boat and they were going hunting. But they put the boat on the Amazon River, and the Amazon River wouldn't let them come back. It carried them, kept on carrying them west and west and west. And finally, they started off in Colombia, and finally they ended up on the Atlantic coast of South America. Well, on the way through, they observed enormous cities. They observed evidence of high civilizations of the Amazon. He reported it, but he was disbelieved. It was thought that he was making it up, and it's these new LiDAR surveys that have confirmed that he was absolutely correct. And God knows.
I'm really worried about climate change. We don't have long left.
More electric cars means less racism. CNN's chief climate correspondent appeared to say that electric vehicles reduce asthma, lost workdays, and racism.
Less than 5% of cars sold are electric these days, but this also affects folks, communities of color disproportionately. Our choice of fuels not only warms things up for everybody, but really affects communities of color living next to highways and power plants.
Now, this is true because pollution is racist. It practices segregation. It hovers over communities of color, leaving white areas untouched with their serene, pristine air. You know, like in Las Vegas, when you've got a smoking area next to a non-smoking area, how the smoke stays on the smoking side and doesn't travel anywhere else. Pollution is just like that. Obviously, we need some diversity, equity, and inclusion training for pollution. But in the meantime, go out and buy a Tesla so you can help communities of color. Now, if you're not in a financial position to buy an electric vehicle right now, you're the reason why we still have racism in this country.
Please like, comment, and subscribe.
More electric cars means less.
There's a secret lurking in all conventional corn that's poisoning your gut. Conventional corn is genetically modified to surpass the normal boundaries of nature. The plants grow faster, produce their own pesticides internally, and are more resistant to heavy-duty pesticide spray. Once genetically modified, the corn plant produces its own pesticide, commonly referred to as Bt toxin. This toxin targets bugs that eat the plant, destroying their insides and killing them. If you're eating conventional beef that was fed corn, the Bt toxin survives slaughter. If you're a soda drinker in this country, take a look up here. High fructose corn syrup, all genetically modified. Better take a look at all your sauces and ketchups, because it's there too. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much everywhere. Is it just a coincidence that leaky gut and all these autoimmune issues are on the rise? Or could it be all the Bt toxin that everybody's taking in? There's a lot of research about the health of your gut and how that implicitly is tied to your overall health. I say opt out, do everything you can to not let a corporation cook for you. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Right outside of this one church town, there's a gold dirt road to a whole lot of nothing. Got a deed to the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country. We pray for rain and thank Him when it's falling, 'cause it brings a grain and a little bit of money. We put it back in the plate. I guess that's why they call it God's country.